No marketing.
Craig, you're muted for the welcome.
Good morning, everyone. We worship wherever we are across this land, cognizant of the reality that we live and move and work on unceded land. In the Winston-Salem area, we recognize the long movement and stewardship of this land by the Catawba, the Kiawe, the Tupelo, and many others moving back and forth. We know that our economy is built on enslavement and indentured servanthood and Jim Crow and countless policies of inequity. And so we worship each and every day, seeking the courage and the wisdom to move together into a more equitable, just future. Wherever you come from today, whether you are with us on Zoom or on Facebook Live, you are so welcome to be with us. We are glad you're here. And we're excited for the leadership of Reverend Andrea Simmonds for this service today.
Thank you, Craig. This is our opening song entitled Prayer, composed by Dan Knight. Thank you, Dan, for that beautiful opening song. We've come to the time in our worship for celebrations and prayer concerns. And if you would like to, you're welcome to unmute and share your prayer concern or celebration, or you can share in the chat.
I'm grateful that I have a really good upstairs neighbor who's helping me clean up my apartment so that my landlord in the next week won't consider it really bad. They said they were going to come back in about 2 weeks. That was about a week ago after they installed the fire extinguishers. And he said, you really need to clean up that, and I'll be back in 2 weeks to see. And I was thinking, oh no, my upstairs neighbor tried to help me. And it's just amazing what he did. He's already done in 4 hours. He said he's going to come back after lunch and work on it some more. Wow. Thank God for good neighbors.
I'm grateful that a friend of Brad and myself has moved to rehab. His name's John from care at the hospital for weeks, and he's moving ahead on the road to recovery fully.
Prayers for Brenda and Philip.
Prayers for Billy H. and his family.
We have a few. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Prayers for those, so many of us have been blessed to skirt the edges of this virus, and other people have been slam in it, are still in it, and other parts of the world are increasingly devastated. And prayers for that we have open eyes and open views. Most of the world doesn't live as well as we do, and they're hurting so much.
Prayers and thanksgiving for all the nonprofit fundraisers across our virtual and real weekend of celebration for the Muscular Dystrophy Society, for the Down Syndrome Society, for multiple sclerosis, all who had fundraisers and whose tentacles reached all across our community through book clubs and everything else. Thank you all for your participation in any of the nonprofits.
Oh, and for my prayers for my sister and everybody else on the West Coast of all these forest fires and whatever.
In the chat, we have a few prayers and celebrations that have been shared. From Carol, prayers for Rita W. From Lee, going through some personal issues is causing a lot of stress. Prayers for a positive outcome. From Lil S, I am grateful for all the goods and blessings I receive from PUCC and the good that washes over me. From Anna T, prayers for her friend Robin, who has stage 4 ovarian cancer. It's non-curable and she's in a clinical trial, so pray that she can bear the pain. Prayers from Tony of gratitude and intercession for his mother, who turns 93 tomorrow. And his mother offers prayers for peace and families. From Judy S, prayers for relief of sciatica and sprained ankle. And I think that's it for now. Our refrain. Oh, and from Craig S, continued prayers for Lil, who just finished treatment. Continued prayers for Michelle J as well. Prayers for my Aunt Florine, please, because she's got a recent cancer diagnosis. So prayers for her and just for my family in general, please. Oh, and for Wins Memorial as they prepare for anniversary celebrations. I'll take a couple more heartbeats just in case we're missing some. Prayers for Sophie, Parker, and Sarah in college. Okay, I think the chat box has stopped moving. So our refrain, God's steady love endures forever. For our centering ritual today, if you would, mute yourselves and close your eyes if you want to, or if you have something that you like to soften your eyes and look at. I have a candle lit over here. You know, if you have a window, you can look out, or if keeping your eyes open isn't your jam, you can just shut them. And I'd like you to steady yourself in your seat or wherever you are. Take a couple of deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And I want you to think about what you're grateful for in this season. When you have it in your mind, whoever that person is, or the thing that you're grateful for, or if it's just the change of seasons. It doesn't have to be something big, it can be something small. And when you think of what you're grateful for, I want you to notice where you feel that in your body. When you think of that person or the thing that happened to you this week that you're really grateful for, or your pet, what does that feel like? Where do you feel it? And I want you just to hold on to it for just a moment. And when you're ready, you can come back into this space. Just open your eyes or just bring yourself to being present here. I know there's a lot going on in the world right now, and it's hard to find things to be grateful for. But even if you can find that one small thing, it can help keep you steady throughout your day. Please join me in the prayer that Jesus taught in the language and tradition of your choosing. Our Father and Mother who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. You're now welcome to unmute and share a sign of peace with everybody. Peace, y'all.
Hi.
Peace. Peace, everybody. Peace.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace, everybody.
Peace with you.
Hey, Amy.
I'm
Hey,
Peace,
Anna.
everyone.
And
Blessings to
Hannah.
everyone.
Hi, Michelle. Hey,
Hey,
Beverly.
Michelle.
Up your
Good
healing.
morning.
Hi,
Peace to all of you.
Hi, peace, everybody.
I miss you all.
Carol Lou.
Peace.
Peace. Hi, Lil. Everybody. Hi.
Hugs, hugs.
And thank God for
Yeah.
good neighbors.
I think we can go away now.
Tony.
Hi, Diane.
Hi, Francie.
Hey, hi, Beth.
Hi.
Hey, Beth.
Peace.
Aubrey.
Peace, y'all. Ready yourself.
Aubrey's daughter.
Hey.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hey, Peggy Taylor.
All right. That was awesome. Please ready yourself for the hearing of Melody by Fanny Mendelssohn Hensel by Genie Carter. That was beautiful. Thank you, Jeannie, for that offering. Now we're going to hear some Earth Examen sharing from Carol P.
Craig's going to put up some pictures for me. And so that you can see a little bit of what I saw recently. I gave myself for the first time since perhaps 5th grade, 2 weeks to rest. I took 2 weeks from my work, and 10 of those days was in almost silent retreat. The first 4 days was at Well of Mercy, and the last days were in total silence in a lovely cabin. And for those of you who have been to Well of Mercy, this is the entrance to Well of Mercy, and it has been raining indeed. And I got to do a lot of walking in that soft grass full of water. So after being in the grass, there's Vespers. You walk on this lovely wooden place to a room full of glass, and you get to look out. The next thing you'll see is more nature. This is right outside my door. And then after going farther down, you can always go to the creek, past the beautiful trees and lawn, on a shaded path to the long creek, nestled among beautiful forest. We find special things if you slow down and look. I sat for hours in the water. There are large stones in many places. I sat with my feet in the water and sang songs to God, sang joyfully, and noticed beautiful things along the way. I thought that looked a little bit like a dinosaur coming out to smile at me. And after days and days of almost silence and fun with my feet in the water for hours and hours and hours, I began to feel God more deeply than ever before in my life. And we're just going to stay here and look at this picture for a moment. After hours of my feet in the water, I sat on a stone looking at this stone, and I heard the voiceless voice with a clarity that was astounding. If I can do this with a rock and some water, imagine what I could do for you if you'd give me half a chance. And I went back later, and here's what that stone looks like with some different shadows on it. If I can do this with a rock and a bit of water, imagine what I could do for you if you'd give me half a chance. This is a message for all of us. And of course, we can't stay in this place forever. So on the way back, you'll see some little footprints. The raccoons have definitely been here. And you'll see other things as well. This butterfly did a dance for me and turned around and around. And you'll see his or her glistening wings again in the next picture. And again. And this butterfly, or else its cousin, did a dance for me also in the center of my welcome mat, right before I met with my spiritual director. She turned round and around and around. And you know, butterflies are the sign of transformation. And as I went from almost silence at Well of Mercy to total silence for 5 days in a lovely cabin with a stream and with butterflies and flowers, God helped me know and gave me a gift to help me. Because when God says, imagine what I could do with you if you give me half a chance, that's a longing of God for all of us to grow. It's a kick in the butt. And then God gave me the tool, another tool, and I want to share that with you. God's not going to say, grow more, Carol, without giving more nutrition, more guidance. And after a few days of total silence, God helped me with another ABC prayer. When I can't sleep at night, sometimes I say, thank you, God, for apples. Thank you for bananas. Thank you, God, for cherries. And I do the breath prayers with food that God's given. I do breath prayers for mammals. I do breath prayers for insects. But God gave me a brand new breath prayer. And I call it from adoration to inspiration to transformation. And it's just simply breathing in aspects of our loving God and holding them. And then sending that aspect of God to every cell in our body. I do it almost every morning now, bringing the boon home from the long retreat. And I want to share it with you. It's simple as can be and profound. Andrea's already helped us to slow down our breathing. You know how. You also know intuitively there's 4 parts to your breath. You know you inhale. And at the top of that inhale, there's a turnaround where you're going to begin the exhale. And I think of that like a child's swing. You're going to be airless, without gravity. You're going to be just beautifully, spaciously at the top. Then there's a turnaround at the bottom as well. So when we inhale a beautiful aspect of God, we're going to pause at the top and soak it in and then exhale. So again, if you'd like to find a beautiful plant to look at or out the window or close your eyes or admire your fantastic fingers or toes, we're not going to do all the alphabet because that might take a half hour, which I do almost every morning and almost every evening. You can think of many things for G about God, goodness and grace and gratitude. You can spend as long as you want, or you could pick one attribute and spend 5 minutes. But the scientists have proved that if you look at a flower or a candle and breathe quietly for 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes at night, in 2 weeks, the well-being part of your brain will have grown. So imagine if in addition to that, you're breathing in aspects of God that you want to absorb from head to toe. 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes at night, and in 2 weeks, we all will have grown. We can change the world, breath by breath, attribute by attribute. So we'll spend just a few minutes with just a few of the ABCs of adoration of the tender God who is like Jesus. So at the beginning, you breathe in the wondrous gift of God's breath. We breathe in Ruach, God's breath, wind, and spirit. And then we breathe that breath out into the world. We inhale God's love and breathe that love to every cell in our body, all the way down to our toes. And you can wiggle those toes. And now hear in God's own voice, hear in God's own voice, God's encouragement. Dear one, breathe in my affection. Breathe it in. Hold it for a moment. Now breathe my affection into every cell of your body, all the way down to your toes. Dear one, breathe in my beauty. Breathe it in, and now hold it. Absorb it. Now breathe my beauty into every cell of your body, all the way down to your toes. Dear one, breathe in my compassion. Breathe it in, hold it, absorb it, swim in it. Now breathe it out into every cell of your body, all the way down to your toes. Breathe in my encouragement. Hold it. Oh, breathe my encouragement into every cell of your body, all the way down to your toes. Breathe in my friendship. Hold it. Absorb it. Swim in it. Now breathe my friendship to every cell of your body, all the way down to your toes. Breathe in my hope. Breathe it in, breathe it in. Hold it. Now breathe out my hope to every cell of your body, all the way down to your toes. Breathe in my joy. Breathe it in, hold it. Breathe my joy to every cell in your body, all the way down to your toes. Breathe in my patience. All the way. Hold it. Now breathe my patience into every cell of your body, all the way down to your toes. Breathe in my rest. Now breathe it out to every cell in your body, all the way down to your toes. Breathe in my strength. Hold it, hold it. Now breathe my strength to every cell in your body, all the way down to your toes. Breathe in my tenderness. Breathe it in, breathe it in. Hold it. Yeah. Now breathe it out to every cell in your body, all the way down to your toes. Wiggle those toes. Breathe in my understanding. Hold it. Hold it. Now breathe it out to every cell in your body, all the way to your toes. Breathe in my zest for living. Breathe it in, breathe it in, breathe it in. Hold it. Breathe out my zest for living to every cell in your body, all the way down to your toes. And smile. Breathe in my love and my patience and my hope and my zest. Hold these in your heart and in your body until you feel so full, you slosh and share with the world. Take a few breaths on your own. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Carol. Hear this reading from Numbers 11, 4 through 6, 10 through 16, and 24 through 29. The rabble among them had a strong craving. And the Israelites also wept again and said, if only we had meat to eat. We remember the fish we used to eat in Egypt for nothing, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now our strength is dried up and there's nothing at all but this manna to look at. Moses heard the people weeping throughout their families, all at the entrances of their tents. Then the Lord became very angry and Moses was displeased. So Moses said to the Lord, why have you treated your servant so badly? Why have I not found favor in your sight? That you lay the burden of all this people on me. Did I conceive all this people? Did I give birth to them that you should say to me, carry them in your bosom as a nurse carries a sucking child? to the land that you promised on oath to their ancestors? Where am I going to get meat to give to all these people? For they come weeping to me and say, give us meat to eat. I'm not able to carry all these people alone, for they are too heavy for me. If this is the way you're going to treat me, put me to death at once. If I have found favor in your sight, and do not let me see my misery. So the Lord said to Moses, gather for me 70 of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people and officers over them. Bring them to the tent of meeting and have them take their place there with you. So Moses went out and told the people the words of the Lord, and he gathered 70 elders of the people and placed them all around the tent. Then the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke to him and took some of the spirit that was on him and put it on the 70 elders. And when the spirit rested upon them, they prophesied, but they did not do so again. 2 men remained in the camp, one named Eldad and the other named Medad, and the spirit rested on them. They were among those registered, but they had not gone out to the tent, and so they prophesied in the camp. And a young man ran and told Moses, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. And Joshua, son of Nun, the assistant of Moses, one of his chosen men, said, my Lord Moses, stop them. But Moses said to him, are you jealous for my sake? Would that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his spirit on them. This is what the Spirit is saying to the churches. Thanks be to God. First of all, just let me say, I love the tantrum that Moses pitches in this passage. He is fed up and has had enough. The people he is in charge of leading are tired of eating manna and miss the food they once had in Egypt. And then God's hearing all of their complaints and is getting angry. Moses is the middleman. He's stuck in between. And finally, Moses pitches a fit, and it's not at the people he's serving, but rather at God and the position he's been placed in. He basically says, all these people are whining that you've entrusted me with. I'm not their mama. They want meat, but all we have is manna. God, if all you plan for me to do is hear this whining day in and day out and not get anywhere with it, then just do me a favor and take me on out, because this is just too much. I don't blame Moses. How many of us have been in a situation where we're in charge and it seems like nothing is going right? It's disheartening when you have big plans and things seem like they're going to the wayside and all you hear is complaining. God listens to Moses and says, gather together 70 of your leaders and have them gather at the meeting tent. I'll take some of that spirit that is on you and we're going to divvy it up. So the 70 leaders gather and God pours out his spirit upon them and they begin to prophesy, but they only do it once. Interestingly enough, 2 folks who were on the roster to be at the tent meeting, but never made it, Eldad and Medad, still received the spirit. They were able to continue prophesying well beyond the meeting tent. A few of the people who were with Moses ran to tattle on them, saying, they're prophesying in the camp. They are encroaching on your job. Moses' response is what leads us into our message for today. But Moses said, are you jealous for me? Would that all God's people were prophets? Would that God would put his spirit on all of them? I was recently having a conversation with a few other ministry colleagues. We were talking about how hard it is right now to minister with the pandemic, constantly changing rules, even trying to figure out what you're going to eat for dinner every night. It's exhausting. And adding one more thing to that could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. A topic of conversation come up about how there are a lot of ministers leaving churches and ministry right now because of the stress. A lot of folks feel like they're working a lot more since the pandemic in their churches than pre-pandemic. It's exhausting. The thing is that folks, myself included, get in the habit of thinking that they're the only ones who can do something. Well, if I don't do it, then who will? That's a great question. Have we been enabling our communities, places of worship, and workplaces to not be able to function when we're not present? Am I at such a place of importance that everything will fall apart when I'm not there? Or frankly, will things just not get done the way that I would want them to get done? I gave a Bible study several weeks ago to a group of leaders. I said, we get caught up in thinking that we can't take a day off, or we have to answer the phone after hours because we have set that precedent. We have taught people how to treat us. One of the participants brought up an amazing point. He said, you're right. If I don't take a day off, I don't know who I'm blocking from being a blessing. Meaning, if we never take a day off or get caught up in thinking that we're the only ones who are capable of doing something, or rather that the way we want it done, we don't know who we're keeping from stepping up and leaning into their gifts and talents. The thing I love most about this passage from today, and there are a lot of things that I love about it. In fact, you could probably write 5 sermons just from this one passage, is that the Spirit didn't need to have Eldad and Medad in the meeting tent in order to find them. They didn't have to be a part of that group in order for the Spirit to fall upon them and for them to prophesy. They were capable of being apart from the 70 elders in the tent and still receiving the Spirit. The scripture reads, meanwhile, 2 men, Eldad and Medad, had stayed in the camp. They were listed as leaders, but they didn't leave camp to go to the tent. Still, the Spirit also rested on them, and they prophesied in the camp. Unlike the other elders who only prophesied for a little while and then no more, Eldad and Medad seemed to continue to prophesy. There's nothing in the text that says that they stopped. They were gifted with the Spirit well outside of the bounds of where they should have been able to receive it. The thing is, we cannot limit the Spirit. The Spirit will move upon whoever the Spirit wishes, and the only thing we're doing by not believing that others are capable is standing in the way of letting other people be a blessing. And frankly, if they're not a blessing in your community, they'll find one where they are. What today's passage reminds me of is that the Spirit is meant to be experienced in community, and responsibilities are meant to be shared. Because the prophesying stopped while they were still in the meeting tent, but Eldad and Medad were still prophesying well beyond the bounds of the meeting tent. Moses himself said, would that all God's peoples were prophets, would that God would put his Spirit on all of them. I believe that God has done that. We have the Spirit upon us. We have gifts and talents, and my talent is different from Michelle's talent, and from Tony's talent, and from Craig's talent, and we're all gifted in wonderful and beautiful ways. And just because the way you would do something is not the way I would do something does not mean that God could not work through you to spread the further love and kingdom of God here on earth. Beloved, we're in one of our own wilderness wandering moments, and it doesn't take a pandemic to know that. I've had plenty of wilderness wandering moments in my life. Is it your time to be a blessing? Is it your time to step aside and let someone else do the prophesying? You're not the only one. I'm not the only one. And it's time to respect our boundaries and the wonderful and beautiful image of God that is each and every one of us. Amen. Craig has the next song that we'll be sharing. It's Flee as a Bird from the Triad Dulcimer Orchestra.
Healthy habits come in all sizes, like little walks and getting...
Healthy habits also come in the form of good boundaries. Sorry, just had to comment on that commercial. Now we'll hear sharing from the community from Bill Donahue.
Hey, Parkway friends, this is your neighborhood compost concierge, Bill Donahue here. I'm going to walk you through what I do with the church compost, but I'm going to invite you to go along in terms of something you may have in your neighborhood or your house. The objective is to feel good about doing good things for Mother Nature. She used to take care of all this by herself until we got in her way, and now we got to play catch up and kind of help her out. So if you're just starting a compost, you can put in twigs to create some air at the bottom, but if you're not that fussy, well, you can do it on plain dirt. North Carolina soil is pretty rich. It's not Iowa, but it's rich in its own way if you want to grow tobacco. So we started the compost pile here. Some folks have been generous in throwing this stuff in, and I'm going to do a little bit more of that. The objective is to start to break things down like this. And this is not weeds, but there are some roots here. So we just kind of throw it on top. Pretty good stuff. It's left over, I think, tomato vines. Not sure. And when you're starting out, you can use sticks, small sticks and stuff. We've got some hydrangeas here and some Joe Pye weed and some black-eyed Susans. They'll break down real hurry. But in the end, composting is about three things. Well, maybe four. Carbon, which is the dry stuff, the brown stuff. Nitrogen, which is the green stuff. We'll get to that a little bit later. Some air and some water. And then we let just Mother Nature do her work from there. So this came from from Deb's garden, and I'm happy to contribute on her behalf. Table scraps are wonderful. We don't need meat of any kind. We don't need any animal deposits, but almost everything else in the form of a table scrap will work. Oh, this is golden. Oh, we're talking good stuff here. Corn cobs, everything is good. And now we get to the green stuff. We get some of the corn cob stuff. Now I've got some watermelons here. Citrus as a rule is not a good idea, but if you break it up into smaller things, it's great. That's all good. That's delicious. There's some guacamole in there. Somebody says guacamole is a lot like sourdough. If you let it stir for 6 months and keep stirring it, it'll turn green once again, and then you can use it. Katie. Now, you can also use, besides table scraps and the green vegetables and things like that, you can use toilet paper, you can use paper shreddings, you can use some of this light cardboard. This will all break down in a hurry, and so we're happy to throw that in. Adds a little color to the pile. When you get really good and it breaks it down nice, you end up with stuff like this. And you may say, what am I going to use that for? Well, you can start by using it for compost, but you can also use it for mulch to protect your plants over the winter. I put something around my asparagus to keep them kind of covered a little bit. Same with my blueberries. But as it cooks down over the winter, it starts looking like this, and they love it. So instead of doing it there, I'm just going to add it here. But another thing I'll tell you, if you really love your compost, as I do, you can make, are you ready for this? Compost tea. Now you've got something that you can stir for a week or two. Forget the worms and stuff, you left those over there. You're going to have this wonderful stuff that you can use for house plants. You can use it for targeted plants around the yard. It's just compost tea. You can sit out there next to your black-eyed Susans and have a party with your plants. But maybe the coup de grace is creating an environment where this cooks. You've got the sun, you've got the air helping out. This is what they call layering. It's nothing but grass cooking. You spread that out, and that's lovely. You put the water over it. We don't always have to do that. Generally the rain will take care of it. We come back for tea for another day. And what I like to do over the layer is then go back and get some stuff off the bottom. And you can see it's a little darker. Some of the rain has soaked down to it. So it's just great to see. And if you have any questions about what's good carbon, what's bad nitrogen, there's a cheat sheet right here that'll help you. But anytime you've got scraps and want to come and turn, you're welcome. You can do it once a week, once a month. We're glad to have you. And you never, ever outgrow your access to carbon. We got a whole forest full of carbon, and this fall there's just going to be more of it. So come join us at the Parkway Compost. Turn it into mulch for yourself. You all know that Craig has created so many berry bushes over there we need to protect with good coverage, good support, good nutrition, and that's what this is about. Feeling good about doing something good for your neighbor, for yourself, for your church, you know, for your world. Come again and see us. Bill Donahue, your compost concierge.
Compost Bill. Okay.
That was awesome. We could have just had that instead of my sermon today. That was pretty great. So it leads me into a word of thanks. Thank you all for your leadership today in today's service. Thank you for the way in which you lead in your groups and your committees. And just thanks for keeping each of us accountable, keeping one another accountable to taking care of our world and taking care of one another. You can go online to parkwayunited.org if you would like to make an offering or send a check to the church or put money in an envelope and mark it for what it's for and slide underneath the door. It's all completely how you want to do it to help us here at Parkway and to help one another. Craig, you got announcements?
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, all of our musicians. Thank you, Carol. Right after worship, in just a moment, Ralph is going to come on to walk us through the proposed bylaws of our church council. So stick around for that conversation, which we will conclude at 11 so that Bible study and drawdown classes can proceed as usual. Next Sunday, we will be moving back to 11 a.m. worship. Now that it's a bit cooler outside, we hope to do this as a hybrid service. So if you want to gather with us in the grass lot, by all means, come on out. We will also be live streaming to Zoom and Facebook Live. Next Sunday is Cosmos Communion Sunday. And so we will be celebrating the sacrament of Holy Communion. And then at 4 o'clock, in that same space, the grass lot, next Sunday, we will do a blessing of animals and blessing of plants service. So bring your pets, bring your favorite potted plant, and we'll be doing a brief service on the eve of the Feast of St. Francis. We will also offer a prayer for humans who are grieving the loss of their pets. Sunday, October 10th, we will not have worship at Parkway. We will be joining our partners in ministry at Wentz Memorial United Church of Christ in celebration of their 100th anniversary. We now know that that service will take place in their sanctuary. They're taking lots of precautions, including masking, keeping people distanced. They've identified the local spots in their sanctuary where people can sit to be safe. We will also have that service live streamed. More details on how that live streaming will happen on the 10th still coming. Our response as a church is multifold. You could send a card of gratitude and celebration to Wentz. We are encouraging gifts to celebrate that 100th anniversary, financial gifts that you could put in the memo line, Wentz anniversary, if you'd like to make a gift that will come together as a congregation to be given to them. The crop walk is on the afternoon of Sunday, October 17th. If you'd like to make a donation, you could send in a check, again, memo line crop walk, or you can go to www.cropwalkforsyth.org and find the Parkway UCC team. Ann McLean, Andrea Simmonds, and others are already on there. We will be doing a recommitment service on Sunday, November 14th in worship. So you may have been receiving in the mail this sheet, and we invite your response with the self-addressed stamped envelope or sending an email. I'm looking for ways to make that service, that ritual of recommitment, an important service for us. So if you'd like to be a part of the brainstorm over the next couple of weeks of what that service looks like, let me know. I'd love to have your ideas. We will be launching throughout the month of October what we've often called table talks. We're going to focus on our environmental response as a congregation. So there is sign up in the announcements for Saturday, October 16th or Thursday, October 21st to join one of those conversations led by a group of trained facilitators. Thank you all.
Thanks, Greg. just a word. We're going to save our postlude for another day for the sake of time. But please receive this sending forth. No matter where you are on the path in your life, what you might be struggling with, or what you're looking for, know that the Spirit will find you. Know that it will fall fresh upon your shoulders and lift you up. I pray that you're open to the Spirit today and always. Go forth and ingest peace. Amen.